This is a Kirkendall Barrett presentation, darling.
Dad is dead. There is a dog.
You bought strawberries. Who do you think you are?
You buy homemade bread?
What are you, QAnon?
What makes him happy?
Not being in this movie?
Not being in this movie.
A lifetime of Hallmark.
Well, hello, everybody. It is your favorite day of the week. It is time for another episode of A Lifetime of Hallmark, where we talk about movies on both Lifetime and the Hallmark Channel and try to make sense of them. I am Les Kirkendall Barrett. Hello, Jason Bowers.
Hello, Les Kirkendall Barrett.
And hello, Kurt Fitzpatrick.
Hello, Les Kirkendall Barrett, and hello, Jason Bowers.
Well, it looks like we all survived the 4th of July weekend.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, really? Are you still exhausted?
A little bit. You saw me the next day. Yeah, a little tired.
Yes. It ended up being fun. Yeah, I ended up at a barbecue with none other than Jason Bowers.
Wow.
Yeah. In person.
And it was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, you guys worked out some scheduling things, right?
We did.
Yeah.
And then it went out the window anyway.
Did you do anything fun, Kurt?
No, not really. No, I was just tending to things.
Like watching this movie?
Yes, I have. Well, I watched this movie. That wasn't really a holiday thing. That's its own holiday.
You know what?
This will be a holiday next year for me.
This is one of those movies where I picked it and I'm like mad, and the only person who I have to blame for being mad at this movie is myself.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well,
I'm mad at you.
This movie was a pile of shit. I will openly admit it.
I don't know. Because you guys had let me know that Jason has said he was bored by it, and I didn't find it boring. I was kind of fascinated by some of the aspects of this movie.
I think why I was bored by it, and I'm guessing probably why Les thought it was a pile of shit, was on paper and knowing that it was on Lifetime, it sounds like it should be good, bonkers fun, and it wasn't, because it was based on a true story, and they tried to play it straight, almost like a romantic comedy in a way.
Right,
Ooh.
Exactly. And we'll get into this later, because I was like, don't try to make me feel sorry for her.
Yeah.
There is no reason why we should feel sorry for her.
Like
she's one of the dumbest characters I've seen in recent. It could be anything,
but based on a real person. By the way, the movie we're talking about, and we'll get into it, is Jailbreak Lovers from Lifetime, based on the true story of Toby, Dorr, and John Maynard.
And based on that title, Jailbreak Lovers, I thought we were going to have a killer or a wrong. And, you know, when you think of it in context of a Lifetime movie, it just sounded like it was just going to be bonkers as F.
Yeah, I'm also a little mad at myself, because when I read the description, I'm like, this sounds like it might be a true story, because there were like too many layers of weirdness in the synopsis.
And I was sharing this to you. I was sharing this with both of you off screen.
Off the podcast.
If you move the camera a little to the right, you could have seen our interaction.
Well, what I was saying, though, is, so the woman in the movie is played by Catherine Bell. Mm-hmm. And I'm not disparaging anybody's looks. Catherine Bell is a beautiful woman. And so it basically, in the movie, it was almost like, you know, two kind of beautiful people who fell in love, and it turned this, you know, romance, when in reality, the real woman was a lot older than he was, and basically she was just older. And
well,
so
I think the age difference in reality is actually about the same number of years, but what you have here is you have a beautiful TV star paired with another very good-looking actor, so it just seems like, oh, it's like a romantic pairing, but there's a slight age difference, whereas like in real life, she's like admittedly a very kind of average Midwestern woman without a lot of like fashion savvy, with this young guy in jail giving her attention.
Who, I gotta admit, he was kind of hot, the real one.
He was
the real one, yeah.
He was okay.
Well, or put it this way. He was hot enough that you could see by looking at the picture of the two real ones, oh, I know what he's doing. He's like playing her.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And so that, like, you know, and that's what I meant. It was just obvious when you see the two real life ones that he was playing the hell out of
It's similar to my criticism, because Les and I are both not fans of the movie Call Me by Your Name, and my big criticism of that movie is that the love story between those two is less creepy when you hear that, like, oh, his Timothy Chalamet's character is 17 and the Armie Hammer's character is 26. The problem is, in the movie, they cast a 28-year-old Armie Hammer who looks like he's 35. He just looks like an adult. And Timothy Chalamet does look 17, so the age difference seemed greater, and therefore the story takes a creepy undertone to it.
Yeah, very creepy. Very, very creepy. So before we get into this, and before we get into our favorite segment, I just quickly want to read something, because we got a message from one of our listeners.
Oh, listener mail.
It is from our listener, Lisa, and I hope I pronounced this right, Lisa Amanina. And Lisa, so in the last podcast, we were talking about notaries. Because what was it called? Caribbean something. Caribbean Summer. Caribbean Summer.
Yeah.
Okay, we were talking about notaries, right? And so this is the message from Lisa. Hi, guys. Love the pod. Just wanted to let you know that I'm both an attorney and a notary in California. And one of the things we learned in the notary class is that you can't call yourself notario in advertising, which is notary in Spanish, because in some of the smaller countries, the word notary does mean a type of attorney. So they don't want false advertising. Hence, the lines in the movie actually did make sense, but made for a great bit of banter during the podcast. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, it's funny, this week something came up where I need to go get something actually notarized, and all I could think about is that stupid fucking movie.
Oh, please.
We'll be talking about notaries for years.
Yeah.
Compared to today's movie, last week's movie was Godfather compared to today's movie.
Oh, boy.
So we actually had another piece of listener feedback that we got this week, which Kurt and I are very happy about receiving. You might remember last week we talked about Les watching or trying to watch the movie in his car and then trying to do the podcast in his car while he was driving. And Les's sister, Anita, texted him, and Les shared this with us, where Anita said, "Oh my goodness, no watching movies while driving. Thank you, Kurt and Jason, for stopping you." You're welcome, Anita. Thanks for listening.
That's what we are trying to do, because this is a concern.
Yeah.
What can I say? I'm like a Hallmark heroine. I'm very busy.
See, I'll tell you.
So
It's hard to change people. People have to want to change.
Yeah.
So I need to multitask. Speaking of very busy, Kurt, do you have any Blac Chyna news?
Doing a piece of China.
I'm talking China.
Blac Chyna Report. Here's Kurt Fitzpatrick.
Well, this is in celebwell.com. You know, Blac Chyna's never been afraid of showing off her incredible figure on social media. She just posted a stunning new selfie to Instagram. In it, Chyna wore her hair in a curly updo with pink streaks in it. She also wore a matching pink bathing suit. Chyna captioned the post with a pink heart. How does she stay so fit? Well, let me tell you 5 ways Blac Chyna stays in shape. Here we go. Number 1, she adds weights. She says that she likes to use weights when she works out, particularly when she was doing lower body and leg workouts like press-ups.
Okay.
I like to add more weight because I'm a little more advanced, she says. Number 2, she works out at home. Chyna has a very busy schedule, much like a Hallmark heroine. So naturally, she doesn't always have time to go to the gym. Her solution? At-home workouts. In a video she did with Life and Style, Chyna said that she does quick at-home workouts on her busier days. I can't make it to the gym, obviously, so I'm just going to do a few workouts in the house. That sounds like they needed to add as many words as they could to that, but okay. Number 3, she drinks 2 cups of coffee in the mornings. Oh, yes. She likes to start her day off with not 1, but 2 cups of coffee, one thing in the morning and the other later. I start my day off with either a double espresso or black coffee. I might add a little bit of creamer. I'll have another cup of coffee just to curb my appetite. Number 4, she watches her portions. Oh, yes. When it comes to eating, especially meals, Chyna practices portion control. She told Life and Style, I like to keep everything super proportional. She says that she does this since she spends a lot of time at home and doesn't want to overeat each day. And number 5, she drinks water. Yep. She does a lot of things to stop herself from feeling hungry all the time. She also makes sure to stay hydrated each day. She says these are the reasons she likes to drink water each day. She explained to Life and Style. She sure unloaded the Life and Style. She said, if you do feel like you're hungry, if you drink a big glass of water and wait like 30 minutes, you probably won't be as hungry. And that's a wrap for the Blac Chyna news.
I feel like if you work for Life and Style and you get to talk to Blac Chyna and you're like excited, like, oh, I love Blac Chyna. She's this great big personality, and I'm gonna ask her some questions. And then it's the most stupid, boring interview ever. Like the big get of this interview is that Blac Chyna drinks water. Fuck you, Life and Style.
and you know why she drinks? You know why she drinks 2 cups of coffee?
Because
it's not even that much coffee.
Because it makes her regular.
Yeah.
Oh, I drink all kinds of coffee. And what do you guys think of this? I'm gonna start ending my. This is a broadcasting question. I was thinking about ending my Blac Chyna segments by saying, "Courage." Like Dan Rather did that for a while at the end of his news.
What's
news
the frequency,
broadcast.
Kenneth?
Courage.
You would end your Blac Chyna segments with boom shakalaka.
Boom.
I actually like that plan, and please go ahead and do it.
Oh, good. I'm going to do that starting next week. Tune in, folks.
You know, I must say though, Blac Chyna is fit. She's fit, and I bet she does something with a pole. Because remember, she is a former dancer.
Well, no. Oh, was that the pole she was chasing Rob Kardashian with?
She would have had to pull it out of the ceiling.
Like a stripper pole.
You don't need a ceiling.
You know what?
If you've got a because they sell them, I know this for a fact. They sell them as like a base, and the pole is coming out of the base, but it doesn't need to touch the ceiling.
Well, the guy that does my hair, he has a stripper pole in the salon.
Is this the guy you were telling us about last night in the chat?
No, no.
Okay.
No, he was an esthetician.
Okay.
I didn't get to read all that.
No. It was a very interesting tidbit. How do I say it without? So
Actually.
Let's say that Les knows somebody who part of their life was documented on Dateline.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I won't say why, but you can read it, and it was a true story.
Speaking of being tactful, this try to be tactful reminds me of years ago. I went to something called headshot torture, and we all brought our headshots. And they were just like brutally analyzed by everybody in the room. First of all, the woman would hold up your headshot, and she'd say, "Okay, raise your hand if this picture actually looks like him." So I don't know, my headshot didn't pass. But then this other woman, the woman who was teaching this thing, she picked up this one woman's headshot. She goes, "You look absolutely gorgeous in this picture." That's all I'm going to say. So what she was saying,
that's not brutally honest.
You don't look gorgeous in real life.
Yeah, that's not brutally honest.
Gorgeous.
See, I couldn't do a workshop like that.
I don't know why I put myself through these things. I don't think I would anymore.
I could not do. I'm way too fragile to put myself through a workshop like that. Either that or I'd end up cussing the person out who was doing the critique.
Oh, you would get defensive about it?
Yeah, I would end up saying, well, look at you. You're no oil painting. You know?
No, I would imagine the point of the exercise is your headshot is going to be seen by a bunch of strangers over the years, and you need it to represent you and be your business card as an actor, right?
But, I mean, there's a way. It sounds like this person was, like, brutal.
Yeah, that's what it was called, headshot torture. I think it was, like, part of the seminar. We're also going to be doing headshot torture.
I get it though. Let's put it this way: if you need like truly honest feedback that's gonna get through to you, and you're going to then put into action. If people are kind of pussyfooting around it and not really letting you know, well, the reason I don't think that's a good headshot is because it doesn't look like you, or it is better looking than you, or worse looking than you. You need to hear that so you can make that change.
But I mean, so I have my agents. I have 2 agents. And, you know, when it's time for a new headshot, they tell me it's time for a new headshot.
Yeah.
And they're direct about it without being mean.
Yeah, because they work with you and they like you and they know how to deliver that news to you. But if I'm a casting director who's never met you, and then you come in my office and you don't look a thing like your photo, I'm sure as hell going to let your agent know, hey, assholes, get this figured out.
Right.
Yeah, that's
right.
a problem. Yeah,
and it's obvious we hate this movie because we're talking about that shot.
And I'm cursing like a storm today. Cursing up a storm.
No.
Oh, my God.
Jailbreak.
I'm going to be I'm going to be fully transparent. I'm just going to admit this. I fell asleep in a chunk of this.
I did too. I was so fucking bored during the beginning of this movie, the first 20 minutes, that I was like, and it wasn't that late. It was like 8:30 at night. And I'm like, I'm falling asleep. I need to take a nap so that I can get through the rest of this so we can record the podcast the next day. So I had to take a nap to finish the movie.
And you know what made me mad about this movie? Did you notice that they were trying to be funny, like with some of the interviews and stuff?
No, I didn't think it was funny at all. I took this thing very seriously.
They were trying to be, like, I thought some of the comments and some of the commentary, they were trying to be kind of funny, but it just didn't land.
They couldn't figure out the tone of the movie that they wanted to take. They were trying to be an earnest telling of this woman's love story and sort of freedom from her loveless marriage. But they also wanted to take, at times, but not all the time, a tone of like, what was that movie where Margot Robbie played Tanya Harding?
Yes.
They wanted like a little like winking tone at the camera of like, can you believe this bonkers story?
Exactly.
Well, they didn't achieve that. But I'll tell you, Jason, when you started to say they wanted to make an earnest, I thought you were going to say they wanted to make an Ernest movie.
Yes.
You know, Ernest P. Worrell.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I wish Ernest was in this movie.
Actually, Ernest P. Worrell is probably a smarter character than this woman.
Yeah.
Back before I was gay, I had a girlfriend in high school, and I remember making out during an Ernest movie.
Like what, Ernest Saves? Was it Ernest Saves Christmas?
It may have been, actually. Because I think that's the only one I've ever seen is the Christmas one.
Okay.
And there were so many things that made me angry about this movie. So many things.
I have a lot to say about this.
Okay.
Well, we should say it then. Let's get into it.
We can start. Believe me, I was wide awake. I was like the guy in a Clockwork Orange with the toothpick. No, not toothpicks, but his eyes are like stretched out. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could have at least had a black hoodie.
I didn't miss a second of this. I think I even put it back a couple times. Like, I need to hear that again.
Okay.
You're Jailbreak Lovers, ride or die.
And
I am a Jailbreak lover.
And the thing is, I was warned because I saw Jason's message. But, you know, we've been doing this long enough that, you know, we all three a lot of times have 3 totally different opinions. Mm-hmm. So I take what you say, but then it's like, I stay open because, you know, there have been times that you guys have hated the movie. I've liked it. There's been times that I've hated the movie. You guys, so
Well, Les, you and I did not like this, and Kurt seemingly did.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't, like I said, I wasn't bored by it. I thought it was incredibly stupid, but I have a lot. I have a lot to say. I think it gives some important life lessons, which I'll get to.
So we hear sirens, and we see it's a police chase, and there's a man and a woman in a car, and I knew we were in trouble because a voiceover popped in, and I'm like, oh God, are you kidding me? Here we go. And so then we see a woman being interviewed, and then we see a prisoner being interviewed, kind of like a he said, she said.
I'm assuming that is supposed to be a nod to the fact that this is a story that made it on Dateline.
Yes. And so we find out that our heroine, Toby, played by Catherine Bell, she was basically, she was an empty nester. Her son had gone away from college. Her husband had checked out of their marriage. She had checked out of their marriage. So it was, she was basically just kind of living this bored life. Like, it was like the beginning of Desperately Seeking Susan.
Yeah, but part of the, we talked about the tone of the movie. It starts off in a weird tone because we see this police chase, and then we cut to them talking to camera, and they both seem very upbeat on camera. Like, he's in prison, she's, was arrested at one point, and she's really upbeat, and this is all after that happens, but they're happy.
Yeah, he's like a supermax.
Now, Kurt, have you seen Desperately Seeking Susan?
I did. In fact, Mark Blum was in that movie. I had him as an acting teacher.
Right.
He said,
at least in Desperately Seeking Susan, they had the common sense to give her amnesia to suck me into the movie. But anyway, because I love a good amnesia makeover movie.
Yeah, well, that's a good movie.
So yeah. But you're right, Jason. They were very kind of upbeat, and it had like a lighter tone to it.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
And they both mentioned like we were in love.
Yeah.
Yes. I wrote a big heart in my notes.
And so, and then we also find out like she's a vet tech, right?
Yes.
So she's a vet tech, and she's working in this hospital, and she is watching this show, and it's about pet therapy. And so at the time, her dad was ill, and so she was kind of having an existential crisis. And she realized that she hadn't done anything with her life. And so one of her coworkers brought in a dog. And
like a stray.
She came up with this idea to, hey, why don't we start bringing dogs to prisons as like a pet therapy thing?
Okay.
And she also had made the decision that she was going to take charge of her life. So she goes to the prison.
Well, no. First, she's in bed with her husband.
Right.
Her husband's just he's doing all the wrong things. He's got himself a hot wife there.
Right.
And I don't want to get graphic, but that man needs to start doing a certain act on a regular basis. He wants to keep that woman around.
Right. Well,
leaving the bedroom because he was not attractive.
He was not attractive at all.
No, you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean.
Got to start doing a certain act.
Say it, Kurt.
He's got to start going down on her.
Yeah, why not?
Well, it is. Wait,
I don't mean to beat around the bush.
Week.
He's got to start going down on her. He's got to get down there.
You couldn't say that. You couldn't say that on a Hallmark week.
That's true.
Why not?
Well, I don't know if I've ever thought that watching a Hallmark movie. I think those people are going down on each other. But this situation,
but in a very
he needs to get to work. He needs to make an effort. Then he refers to her as middle-aged.
And definitely, like, she's played by Catherine Bell, so she's beautiful. This guy wasn't even remotely attractive. And,
yes,
but she is middle-aged. She's got to be around our age.
He's a fireman.
Catherine Bell? I bet you she's at least 45, at least.
Oh, she's around our age.
Yeah.
I thought he was way older.
The husband, maybe a little bit, but not much.
And like I said, she was beautiful. He was butt ugly, and he wasn't even rich.
Yeah, she was really young, though.
I could see this pairing.
Remember, she met him when she was 15.
Yeah,
that's right. They did meet when she was 15.
I don't know if he was a fireman then, but women are attracted to firemen.
Yeah, absolutely. So are gay guys.
Oh, have you seen some of the firemen in LA? Oh my God!
Take it easy. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! I have seen some hot firemen. It's like, do they take headshots before they let you in?
Yeah, but they are brutally honest with each other before they get them printed up.
They hold them up and say, does he look like this?
Right. You've got to go to headshot torture before you're entered into fireman's training.
I put myself through that nonsense. Jesus. Anyway.
So she goes to the prison, and then it's kind of foreshadowing because you see how they like check her car and all that stuff. And so she goes, it's the warden actually gives like signs off on it. And so then you see her with prisoners, and she's starting to train the prisoners how to be nice to these animals. And these are all like abused animals.
But this was weird. I don't know how it works in prison, but she's just there outside while everybody's out there playing, lifting weights and under no supervision.
I've never been to a prison. I don't know, but it did seem odd to me that, like, not only was she on the grounds there, but she's just walking amongst them without anyone guarding her.
Yeah,
right. Because what seemed odd to me is it's like, so you have a woman around men who have not been with women in years, and you're just going to leave her to her own.
And they're not even looking at her, really. They don't care that she's there.
And remember, this is Catherine Bell. She is she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And they weren't even looking twice at her.
Right.
Wow. I've been to 2 prisons for film shoots.
Oh.
I went to a maximum security prison. That was interesting. Where I played a guard. I played a prison guard that was on SVU. And then I was on some other show where I was in prison, and you know who my cellmate was?
Who?
Charlie Murphy.
Oh.
He was my cellmate.
Now, did you get to see any of the real prisoners?
No, the one I worked with Charlie Murphy, that was like part of the prison that wasn't really used. And then the maximum security one, I guess they just cleared people out of that area, so I didn't actually see them.
So you didn't have to make a shiv?
No, but the maximum security one was I wanted to get out of there. It was like
You like stifling?
It didn't smell good, and it was a prison. It wasn't pleasant.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So they started taking care of the animals. And then this one prisoner shows up, and I wrote, he is not sexy. And his name was Hooligan. But his nickname was Hooligan, but his name was John.
Yeah.
Well, they have a huge intro for this guy. Like the camera, just cranes towards him.
I think in styling this guy to look like a prisoner, they went a little, they like overcorrected. And so he went from being like, oh, he's sexy, we got to tone it down and make him ugly. They like made him too ugly.
Yeah, because he was not a panty dropper.
But like when he took his shirt off multiple times in the movie, I was not mad about it.
But, and then the thing is, and we'll get to this, he wasn't even charming.
No.
Like, because you know how sometimes there are guys who aren't as attractive, but they're like rugged or charming, or there's something about them that makes them sexy. He didn't even have that.
No. Well, I don't totally agree with that. He was very confident, as she said. Like he walked up, was very confident, and women love that. That's like a common thing that I noticed that women.
Well,
like. A guy doesn't have to be even great looking, but if he's got like this confidence, it's like overreaching confidence. And then women like women like people in jail. I don't know what that's about, but they like a guy in jail.
What's
Maybe
the bad boy
because they can't meet. Yeah, there's that. Maybe they can't meet other women.
Because that's my whole thing is it's like, you have no reason to be cocky. You're in jail, which means you did something stupid and got caught. So it's like,
yeah,
it's like, you're not lighting the world on fire here, dude. You're in prison.
I can see why some women would go for this guy.
Oh, so he comes back the next day. Like, the guard shoots him away, but he comes back the next day. And Toby assigns him a dog, and the dog likes him. And so they're preparing these. So these animals are like abused. So they're using the prisoners to like socialize them and make them comfortable around people. And then once they become comfortable, they're going to have like a pet adoption fair.
So I am an animal lover, and I know that this was a real organization, but on paper, that sounds kind of counterintuitive to me. You've got these guys who aren't very socially well adapted, which is part of what landed them behind bars. So they're the ones that are going to teach these animals how to be comfortable around people?
It's also not a home. They're not getting used to living in a home if they're in a prison yard. But
I think it was meant to calm them down, to calm the prisoners down.
I see it calming the prisoners. That as an exercise, that makes sense. As far as socializing these animals, I don't understand how that works. It seems weird to me.
So this next part. So why did the guy get mad about Princess?
Oh, so, God, what was his name? I forget his name, but one of the guys that had a dog that was training it. Basically, the way this program worked is if you got to the point where it was ready to be socialized, they would try to find it an adoptive home. But they would give these prisoners first crack at having a family member adopt it. And so he wanted his sister or cousin to adopt it. And Toby tried reaching out, tried calling, left some messages, hadn't heard back. And she's like, we might have to move on to somebody else. So he flipped out.
Okay.
Yeah,
there's not adopt at this point.
Yeah, there's a part where he kind of slips her a piece of paper to call her. I don't think you're allowed to do that.
No, you're not.
It felt like prison wasn't so much their life as much as a suggestion. Right. The rules seemed very loose. The prisoners are just kind of casually walking around the cells and outside and in storage rooms and stuff. There were no boundaries.
No, I was expecting the gate to be open and the prisoners, kind of walk around the streets for the day, go to the beach, come back.
It's like the honor system.
Right.
Yeah.
So the guy got almost violent with her. John steps in and saves her basically. And so then she's talking to the warden and the warden's asking her if you're okay. And she's like, okay, now I'm feeling scared. Can I have a guard? And what do? They don't give her a prison guard. They give her John, a prisoner, as her guard.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
He gets keys and stuff like that.
Right. But he's a prisoner too.
Yeah.
And then when you find out what he did to get him to prison, it's really what the hell were they thinking?
It's like saying you're afraid to go to the theater because there might be a gunman there. And you're like, oh, well, you can have somebody watch you. Go with my friend John Wilkes Booth.
Right. Exactly. Oh, he's harmless. So he becomes her bodyguard, and then he just starts flirting. He just starts hitting on her. But of course, when you're in prison with only men and there's a woman that shows up, of course he's going to hit on her. So then
I felt bad for Deb. Nobody seemed into Deb.
No, not at all.
Deb was the other woman working with Toby, but she had her mother had ulcerative colitis, and so Deb wasn't around much.
Right.
Diverticulitis.
Oh, diverticulitis. Sorry.
Which is what I have. I have diverticulitis.
You have that?
I do. And it's not why. Well, right now I have diverticulosis. Right now I have diverticulosis, but then when it flares up, then it turns into diverticulitis. And it's not fun.
How do I spell that for the show notes?
Diverticulitis. Yeah. So it's very painful, and sometimes you have to have surgery. So
yeah,
I get why her mom was out of commission.
Yeah.
Well, in real life, the guys at that prison would have been into her because they're all, horny.
Right. Because
that's got to be.
Didn't you watch Oz, where like Rita Moreno played a nun, and like they were all she played like an older nun, and the guys were like into her.
Yeah, they didn't care. Yeah, you're right though. How unflattering it was for like the woman. She's like, I'm going to a prison. No guys are into me.
Right. Like, how dare you? So then Toby shares with John how she was married for 30 years and boo hoo 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 hoo. And then John tells her, well, I miss you when you're gone, Toby. And then Toby's talking to her mom, Toby's talking to her mom about John, and the mom is like, okay, this sounds weird. Are you sure this is like, he's a prisoner.
Yeah.
Get it together.
And the mom kind of points out like, oh, your husband's working a lot. Where's he now?
Yeah.
She's nosy.
So then she says, okay, this is where you knew that the woman was mentally unstable. Because then in her voiceover, she talks about how going to prison was her escape. And she looked forward to going to that prison every day. And it's like, are you nuts?
Wasn't that a lyric from the Rupert Holmes song? If you like pina coladas, going to prison today.
Oh, yeah. Is that who sings that? What's his name? Rupert Holmes?
Yeah.
Do you like pina coladas? Anyway, so then he plays the guitar, and Kurt, you said that this is what women like. A man.
Yes, they do. Guitar. And I didn't even think he had to whip this out. But yeah, at this point, well, first of all,
should whip something else.
She brings him a bunch of toys, I guess, like dog toys.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he invites her into his cell because he's got some wine. He's got some wine brewing in the toilet.
Right. Some hooch.
This is one of those casual scenes. She's like walking around his cell. It's like
she's a little awkward.
Like the only way they could have made this seem more ridiculous is if he had candles burning when they walked in,
or if she walked in, and was like, "Oh, well, this looks lovely. This is so quaint."
There's like rose petals on the concrete floor.
Right, and then like ice in the toilet where they're chilling the toilet booze that they make.
But then he really whips out the moves. He's like, I play guitar, and maybe you want to come see. Sometimes I perform out in the prison yard, and that's a line I've used. It's like, hey, do you want to go see my? Hey, I do. You want to go see my improv show Friday night? And so this guy's using some of my moves.
He whips out like some brie cheese and scoops it up with a shiv on crackers.
Yeah,
my one-man show is playing next week. If you want to.
But yeah, I mean, but yeah, I'm like, okay, so they will let her go into his cell alone with no
one's even watching these people.
No.
And
also like there were times where they were having conversations in this movie about some of the things that go down, and it dawned on me like there are no cameras in this prison.
No.
Don't they have like cameras to say, like if say there's the place goes into lockdown? Don't they have cameras so they can see where everyone is?
Right, like CCTV. No, they didn't have that. So then she sees a picture of his mom. And we find out he hasn't seen his mom in 6 years. And then here's the kicker: we find out that he's in prison for murder.
Yeah, he didn't do it though.
But of course he didn't do it because they never do it. He was in jail. I saw.
He did it by proxy.
I saw Chicago. They never did.
Well, they did explain it, and they also explained it in the after thing that they had from the movie. That basically he was with a guy. They were stealing a car. It was like a felony robbery. They steal this car, but the car owner was in the car, and John's friend shot and killed the guy. So because John was an accessory to it, he's charged with murder as well.
Right. But still, he was involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so then the next day she's very upset because her dad is ill, and she basically doesn't want to be in her marriage anymore. And then she's at home, she's having dinner, and she's at the point where her husband is so on her last nerve that even his chewing is making her crazy.
Yeah, she was very on the fence about whether or not she wanted to be in this marriage and whether or not she wanted to use a Southern accent in this movie.
Oh, I noticed that too. Yeah, there was some kind of accent that was...
Like, I noticed about halfway through the movie, I'm like, oh, I think she's doing an accent. Oh, no, she's not. Oh, yes, she is. Oh, no, she's not.
I noticed her husband looked kind of like Roman Polanski.
I thought he looked like George Washington.
George Washington?
He did. He had like George Washington hair.
What? He looks nothing like George Washington.
George Washington.
Maybe her problem is that, like, my husband won't take off the powdered wig.
Right. And you know what?
That's why he wouldn't go down at her, Kurt, the wooden teeth.
So
that was probably it. Well,
I gotta say,
you don't use your teeth.
I gotta say, so
Okay,
so I'm currently married, but before this marriage, I was in another long-term relationship, and towards the end, before it ended, I was kind of, he would breathe a certain way, and it would just piss me off. So I kind of got the chewing thing.
After a while, did you think your ex looked like Ben Franklin?
Right. And he discovered electricity.
Hey, Ben Franklin got laid a lot.
Ben Franklin got laid a lot.
He was kind of a jackass, though, too.
Well, they all were.
No, like, so you know why Hollywood is in Hollywood, right? I may have even talked about this on the podcast.
No, why? Why is Hollywood in Hollywood?
They basically, the film industry in the U.S. started in New Jersey because Ben Franklin owned all these like camera patents and things. So it started in New Jersey, but Ben was a bit of a patent troll. So like if you were doing any kind of new technology involving cameras, he wanted to be paid on it. So everyone tried to get away from Ben. So they started moving west, ended up in Chicago, but the mob was coming after them there. Like Ben's patent trolls were coming after it, or his thugs were coming after him. So then everyone just moved out west because they're like, oh, there's all this open land. It's cheap. There's all these different terrains to film all these different kinds of climates and things. Let's set up shop in Southern California.
Wait, Ben Franklin, like the $5 bill?
Yeah.
The guy who flies a kite.
He owned camera patents?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Or maybe I'm thinking of Edison.
It's Edison.
Well, Edison is the one. Edison is the one who invented the film camera, if I'm correct. Am I?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, then never mind. I'll scratch that. Just pretend that didn't happen.
Ben Franklin said,
I'll edit that out.
Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Did you give a whole history lesson that was incorrect?
Yeah, I did.
Just slip in. So it was Thomas Edison. Yeah. Because he created, and he did the first. He did the first movie that did happen in New Jersey.
Yeah, okay. So it was Edison. Yeah. Edison was an inventor who accumulated 512 patents worldwide for his inventions.
Wow. The more you know.
Oh, and over 1,000 in the US. Wow. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So Toby at this point is starting to become dickmatized by
John,
even though they haven't done it, but she's becoming enraptured by his weaselly mustache.
His willy.
So then he's like starting to seduce her. Right? Like he's starting to make the moves and she is just in it.
Yeah.
And then
he does she's crying because her dad is in the hospital. He like wipes away a tear.
And then they start making out. And I'm like, where are the guards?
Wait. Is that? Well, wait. I think you skipped over a part where, well, first of all, she talks about she would tell a story about her husband where they made salsa. And then
I probably fell asleep again.
Yeah.
So what happened when he played salsa?
Well, she would always tell people this story about her when her and her husband tried to make salsa and it ended with them laughing. But she said it wasn't true. But then this prisoner, John, he's saying to her, "You never watch porn?"
Oh yeah.
You didn't see this?
And how does he have access to porn?
I'm not making this up. He never watched porn, and then she goes home. She goes home and starts watching porn.
Yeah.
It is a Lifetime movie after all.
And she learns some calculus. Anyway.
Because porn doesn't exist in Hallmark.
I wanted the husband to walk in and see her doing that.
So then this is where she just becomes an idiot. Because it starts going south when the guy starts saying, "Hey, can you smuggle this in for me?" So then he asks her to smuggle in a cell phone. Because didn't he say something like, if he wanted to get access to a cell phone, it would cost him $500?
Yes.
I noticed, I think this might have been the scene when they're sitting basically when she was running the dog program, they would have all these things that I thought, wow, you could use these as weapons in a prison. Like all of the leashes could be used to choke people. They had all these folding chairs for some reason. All these like folding tables. Just there were like things for weapons all over the place. Use the dogs as weapons.
Right.
Yeah, people in prison, they could make like a gun out of a magazine or something like that.
Or they could like secretly train the dogs to attack.
Yeah, they absolutely could do that.
And then have the dog like attack the guards and all escape.
Yeah, like if the dog is bonding with an individual prisoner and the prisoner has a problem with the guard, the dog is going to take the prisoner aside.
Right.
What guards?
True.
Yes. That's probably why they're not working there.
Oh, so then he's giving her back massages. Like she's getting back massages from him. So then I got to show you this big. So there's a big. If you could see my notes, there's a big empty space. That's where I fell asleep. So I woke up. And they were escaping. So what happened?
Okay.
Wow, that's a big jump. Well, at one point, this goes with the porn scene. John had told her, anytime like you don't know like what to do, how to move forward through your life, I want you to get a bracelet. This is what would JD or WWJD, and she's like, what would Jesus do? He's like, no, what would John do?
Oy.
And she has one of those like cheesy braided bracelets you buy like on vacation, and this is WWJD, and that's when she watches the porn. So then they cut to Debbie, and she's talking to the documentary crew too, basically saying like, I thought maybe something was up, but like nobody really saw it coming. Nobody knew what was going on. And that's the phone thing, and so she hides the phone in a bag of dog food.
Yeah, but her friend. Okay, so when the friend comes up on the screen, they have it on underneath her name. It says lives with her mother.
Yeah. Which
Poor
is
Debbie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then they have like you might have liked this less. It was a montage. It was a really boring conversation on the phone out of earshot of the husband montage.
Oh, that would have made me mad because that's a waste of a montage.
Yeah.
And they were having phone sex. They didn't get too graphic though.
But it is Lifetime.
They got as graphic as they could.
No, they could have got more graphic.
So then he then of course brings up, "Hey, why didn't you help me to escape, you idiot?" And she agrees to do it.
Well, she also starts talking to her dad, and she force feeds him root beer.
Yeah.
And he starts telling her that she needs to go live her life.
Dad did not. The mom looked more sickly than the dad did.
And it's like, the dad's like, live your life, but he's like, I meant go get a perm, idiot, not like break a dad out of prison.
Yeah, get a pedicure. He says that in the movie. He's like, that's not what I meant.
So then they come up with a plan, and they smuggle him out in a dog crate, right?
Yeah. Well, this is after at home, John had texted Toby a message that said, "Hey, baby, I love you." And the husband saw it. But Toby did kind of a lame job of covering it. But the husband's like, yeah, I know that you would never, like, that's kind of not in your DNA.
And she's all, oh, yeah? Well, watch this.
Yeah. No, is he dumb? I guess people could be in that deep of denial, though.
Yeah.
Well, she was not smart.
No.
She was not smart at all.
This doggy kennel you talk about, basically and this actually happened in real life. Because she had been bringing all these pets and things in, there were like all these extra like boxes and things around, and the prison's just like, hey, can you get rid of some of this crap? It's in the way. And they see this giant dog kennel, and the guy is like 6'2" or something, but and they didn't put this in the movie, but they had it in the little thing afterwards that part of how he was able to get in that dog kennel is in real life he lost 20 pounds.
Oh. So he went on a diet.
Yeah.
See, that would have been a good montage.
Yeah, like
they did show that.
workout
Remember,
montage.
he wasn't going to eat a meal, and then you see him outside. He's doing the jump rope.
I guess, but they could have hit that harder.
Yeah, I didn't put that together though. Okay, interesting.
Because even later they were mentioning one of the testimonials was like, I still don't get how he fit in the kennel.
Yeah. And then he said, I guess, and this is one of those moments where they were trying to make it a comedy where it was the warden saying, I don't know how he fit in there. Maybe it's because he's young and flexible.
Yeah. So then
they
escape. And this is what drove me crazy. Okay, so when you escape prison, because I watch a lot of soap operas, what's the first thing you do? You dye your hair, or you change your appearance, or, you have someone drive you around in a trunk or something. He didn't do any of that. They just drove around like it was nothing going on.
They actually were going to disguise themselves, and John poo-pooed the disguises she bought because she went like, oh, I'm going to do a wacky sketch thing here, and we're all going to be old people with gray wigs.
Ugh. It's like all he needed to do was shave his mustache, get some hair dye, and then cover his eyes with some sunglasses.
He should have cut his hair because he had longer hair. That way he would have blended in. She could have cut her hair and dyed it another color as well.
Like dyed it blonde.
Yeah.
She was she had black hair. So dye it blonde.
Yeah, she had that gray wig for him. He didn't want to wear that. But yeah, it was they didn't plan this too well.
No, it's like, don't you people watch Days of Our Lives? Come on.
They planned up to a point. That was it.
She was like buying these disguises at like a CVS kind of store, and she was in there for like half an hour on the phone with him, just like walking around the store. And she bought the costumes, and she also bought a plastic ukulele.
Yeah, and I was wondering where that came from. It's like, that's hot. That's awful.
Right. So, and then this is the part where I decided, you know what? They deserve what they get if they get caught. So then back at the prison, a guard finally showed up.
Oh, wait.
Hodor from Game of Thrones.
Before that, though, so they break out, and instead of just like going with the plan of going right to the storage unit they got and right to the cabin they were going to, she wants to stop home to drop off the dogs, and she's taken fucking forever unloading these dogs out of the truck, so much so that she doesn't notice him go into the house and like root through her husband's stuff and steal a gun from the husband.
Right. And it's like, look, bozo, you don't go home when you break someone out of prison. That's the last place you go.
No. Then, wait, what? He's playing the ukulele. Oh no, he gets pissed off at her also.
Yeah, well, because she loses the map.
Yeah, she didn't just lose the map. She printed out directions and left them on the fucking printer.
Right. First of all, don't you people have GPS in your car?
Well,
or your phone?
this was in 2005 or 4.
Okay. So it would have been MapQuest. So,
but they wouldn't have had like smartphones yet.
But so you print out the directions and you leave them for someone to find them.
Yeah.
And they can track you.
You wouldn't want to have a GPS anyway, because then somebody could probably track that somehow. You know?
Again, these are not the sharpest tools in the shed.
No.
So then
I think the dogs in this movie are smarter than the human beings.
But yeah, so he got mad at her, but then again, I would have gotten mad at her too. And so, but then he then makes up for it by singing to her and apologizing.
Well, then they do it, and they check into a motel, and to him it's a luxury.
And she says, "Good sex is like a drug."
It's a long session. They're doing all kinds of positions, and I'm thinking he hasn't had sex in at least 10 years.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, he's been saving it up.
And also, like,
montage.
He may have never had sex.
Oh my lord!
Because he was put away when he was a teen. Yeah, it's possible he never had sex.
Well, it looked like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's watching porn.
Yeah.
He had access to porn.
Because everyone knows that's how sex really works.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. Something iffy here.
So then I wrote in my notes, dumb criminals. So then...
What's the argument here?
So then the press starts going to her house.
Yeah.
And the marshals show up at her house too. And they, and of course I wrote here, of course they're lifetime cops, because when the cops went over to get the statement from the husband, they looked very disgruntled, like, how dare you make us work?
Oh, there's also John finds a wig he likes, and it's this long blonde wig. He looks like Nelson.
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
You remember Nelson?
Tracy Nelson's brothers, yeah.
Yeah.
Where has Tracy Nelson been?
I can't live without your love. Hey, Nelson, I saw a really good interview. I got sucked in and watched a 1-hour interview with those guys. It was really interesting.
Okay.
They talk about...
What was the big takeaway?
All kinds of things.
All I gotta say is their dad was the hottest man on the planet. Rick Nelson.
Yeah, you can have him.
That was like my first little gay crush.
Really?
Yeah. Rick Nelson, and then who else? And Bobby Sherman. I have a type.
Frankie Avalon.
No, not Frankie Avalon.
Old white people music?
Wayne Newton? What's that? What?
No, I used to think that Wayne Newton sounded weird. Cause he sounded like blah, blah, blah. Cause
Yeah, he
he
does kind of sound like
you.
Engelbert Humperdinck. He's pretty hot.
Well, isn't Engelbert either Engelbert Humperdinck or Tom Jones? Rumor is I think one of them is like Paquin.
I believe the rumor is about Tom Jones.
Yeah. Like one of them back in his day would have been worth my while.
Wouldn't that hurt? No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Yeah, you don't. You really don't.
So anyway,
No, I don't.
As evidenced by this movie, you can get things that are seemingly big into places.
All right. I said I don't.
So then once again, the cops were like to her husband, hey, do you think your wife is having an affair? And he's like, no, you shouldn't have it in her. And he was wrong. So then this is another thing. So then
my favorite scene's coming up.
Then the dumb criminal was like, I have to go by a guitar shop. Why? Shouldn't you be on your way to either Canada or Mexico right now instead of running around going to wig shops and guitar shops? And...
Wait. We skipped my favorite scene.
Oh, okay. What is it?
They're in... So I think they're in like some kind of house now, right? They're in like a little cabin.
Yeah, they had rented a cabin, like an Airbnb cabin, but not Airbnb.
Right.
Okay, so she's just left her life, left her husband, just broke this guy out of jail. Her new lover, and what's she doing? A puzzle. I can't even say it. She's doing a puzzle.
Yeah, like she's sitting on, like on the floor next to the coffee table doing a puzzle. Was he playing video games or he's playing with the gun?
Yeah, he's playing video games.
Yeah, he's playing video games. She's like on the other side of the room with a puzzle. Like she's basically back in a boring, loveless relationship in this moment. Right. And then he basically tells her to
frames first.
Yeah. And then he basically tells her, like, come sit on my lap. And then gets like really controlling, and it's this sort of like weird, aggressive sex scene.
And then she discovers, this is why we don't break prisoners out of prison, because then he turns out to be crazy.
See, she was better off where she was. If all she wanted to do was puzzles, stay with her husband. Because
then in her voiceover, she's like, well, then she never knew what mood he'd be in. And then they'd show him like acting out, like throwing things and having tantrums, but then love bombing her. And it's like, this is why we don't break people out of prison.
But also in the most fucked up sort of Stockholm syndrome-y way, she's like, but that's kind of why I liked it. I felt alive.
Ugh.
Well, this is a life lesson. So if you do want to make changes in your life, don't go to that extreme. Take, small steps.
Go to a singles bar and pick somebody up, or,
Go to Ashley Madison or something. I mean, this is too much.
Right. There are other ways to get, the penis, if you want.
I mean, I guess there is an argument to be made that if you're going to go in a different direction, to go full force.
Now, okay, if it would have been like,
steps.
If it would have been like, okay, so in All My Children, Erica Kane was going to break one of her fiancés, Jeremy Hunter, out of prison so they could get married. And you know what she did? She got a helicopter, and they flew in the helicopter, and she was hanging from the ladder in her wedding dress. That is living your life with excitement, not like breaking some out of prison and then going to do a puzzle.
True. But then couldn't you argue that she was taking small steps? She broke him out of prison, but she's still doing the puzzle. She hasn't completely broken out of her mold yet.
And they had left town, right? I don't think they would even left town.
No, they did. They definitely did.
Because how much further can you go? You break the lever out of prison. Then what are you gonna do?
You steal a car.
That's
hijack
true.
A rocket ship and fly to Mars.
No, you steal a car. You steal a car that's not yours, because wasn't she in her car?
No, well, okay, so we're jumping ahead a little bit in the movie, but she had gotten a new car. Another detail not in the movie, but in that thing afterwards, she had cashed out her 401k. So that's how she got money to rent this cabin and get the phone and do all these things that she was doing behind her husband's back. So she rented out the storage facility, dropped off her old van there, and then bought a new car. And this will be their downfall. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Right.
Well, I think we're at the point where they adopt a bird.
Yes.
Because that's a practical thing to have when you're on the run.
When you're on the run, yeah.
The bird and two guitars.
What's that?
He bought two guitars, remember?
Yeah.
He couldn't decide between the two identical guitars, and the practical girlfriend that you're on the run with is like, get both. You like them, don't you?
So we're dealing with two brainiacs here.
Yeah.
Bonnie and Claude.
Right. Bonehead and Claude.
Claude, I said, not so Clyde. But I'll tell you, this Birdie, and I know she's into Birdie. Boy, she's willing to give up a lot for the Birdie. But this Birdie, he wants to name the bird Leonard Skinner. Now, for some reason, this is where she draws the line.
Oh,
she says, we got to name this bird Franklin. Just after Ben Franklin. We're coming full circle.
Yeah. Do you remember why he wanted to name the bird Leonard?
Yeah, well, Leonard Skinner, because he's free. He's free as a
bird. Free bird. Yep.
Free bird. And she says no, and she really stands her ground about this one.
Yeah, she tells him to respect her.
Because a girl's got to set some boundaries. Yeah, you can, it's like, yeah, you can yell at me for losing a map and manhandle me, but don't name the bird Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, how dare you think that you can bully me into naming this bird something else?
Well, she thought he was naming the bird after Leonard Part 6, the Bill Cosby movie. So,
jeez.
And she's like, you don't know it now, but there's a story that's going to come out in about 10 years that is going to obliterate his career.
Yes. Not America's Dad.
Yeah, that would have been a great scene in this movie.
So then, okay. So then, so they go to an aquarium, right?
Did they? No, they saw a movie.
They saw something in IMAX, and it was his first time in an IMAX theater.
Well, gee, I hope that movie was worth it, because that's how they got caught.
Well, they got caught because when she bought the car, they didn't have tags available, because some states, when you buy a car, you get the license plate right away. So they needed to mail the title. So for the mailing address, the dumbass used the rental address for the cabin where they were staying.
I hate her so much.
Yeah, the registration.
And also this woman so much.
Yeah, but in credit to this movie, there's a whole scene where the U.S. Marshals just laughing their asses off at how stupid this is.
Yeah.
How could you not?
Like, they may as well have gone to a neon sign maker and said, hey, can you make a giant neon arrow with the words criminals inside and make sure it flashes so we can hang it in our window?
It's like, I have a 14-year-old. I'm sure that she could even do better. She's even smart enough not to have the shit rented to her rental.
Yeah.
You would think people would try to get as far away as possible. But you remember that story that Elizabeth Smart, that girl, she was kidnapped?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And these people, this couple kidnapped her, and they were like a couple blocks from where she lived, and they would show up places. They would show up to places with her. And nobody could figure out it was her. They showed up to a party.
Wasn't that where they went to that psychic, Sylvia Brown, who used to always be on the Montel show? And Sylvia Brown is like, wait, because that's right. I think they were on the Montel show. And they asked, and Sylvia Brown's like, she's dead. And she literally was just like a neighborhood over.
Yeah, that's one of the weirdest stories ever. They would show up at a party, cause some ruckus, they'd leave, and people at the party say, that kind of looked like Elizabeth Smart. Oh, well, back to the party.
And then she was so mentally shell-shocked at that point. She didn't, didn't know. At
one point, I thought that maybe because they definitely did leave Kansas where the movie started, because they were in Nashville, and there was talk of Nashville at one point. But they also, when she had lost the map, I thought they had gotten really far already, because she was talking about the 110 where it meets the 60, and that's in California.
Right, true.
They got that far.
Yeah, but okay, so what they should have been doing is they should have been going to Mexico or Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I hate these people. I hate both of them.
Passport. Well, no, you didn't have to. You did not have to have a passport to get to Canada at that point, I don't think.
Yeah, probably not.
No, you did. And plus, they weren't coming back anyway. So, and then they
got hide in the mountains.
And Mexico, go to Canada. Well, you didn't need it. You just needed a driver's license back then.
Go to the Yukon, live in the mountains. No one's gonna find you.
Right. But no.
I mean, if that's where you want to be, have fun.
I can't. These people are making me angry. So, the cops chase them. The cops see them, and they chase them.
And now we're back in the chase from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. And so they catch them. And they're very delicate with her, though.
She complained about like her shoe fell off or whatever, because she's kind of like, even though she's being arrested, she's still kind of naive as to like what's going on. She's like, "Well, I lost my shoe," and the officer's like, "You'll live without it, Cinderella." And then one of the other cops is like, "Hey, let her have her damn shoe." Stupid.
And then, so they get caught, and the cops take the bird.
And rename the bird.
Pet.
What did they name the bird? I wrote it down somewhere.
It wasn't Leonard or Franklin.
Oh, no. Maynard?
Maynard or something. They did, yeah.
Oh, after John. That's John's last name.
Yeah, and they're like, and they're like, the bird's very happy now.
Well, that's good.
And so she got divorced. She says her son isn't talking to her. John went back to prison. Oh, and then she said people were trying to get her to say that he like coerced her, but she said no, she wasn't going to do that. So she's in like a suit, like she's in like a blazer. And so they ask her, like the last question they ask her is like, would you do this again? And she said no. So then they finish the interview and they take off the blazer and she has prison numbers. So she's in prison.
Yeah, that was literally the only surprising thing in this movie is that, her interview was conducted in prison just like John's was.
But I kind of knew that she was in prison because did you ever watch Locked Up Abroad?
No.
So Locked Up Abroad is about like people who are overseas and are like drug mules or doing stupid shit, and then they get arrested overseas and have to escape prison to like get back to the States.
And it's like a reality show? Somebody's always like...
No, it's like a documentary.
It's like I know what it is. It's like a reality documentary series. I think it's on MSNBC, and they used to air it constantly on the weekends at MSNBC to the point where every Friday when Rachel Maddow was signing off, she would joke about, like, now you're going to watch Prison. And they would just air it all weekend long. They don't do that anymore, though.
And so there were these people... for Locked Up Abroad that they were caught like smuggling heroin and they were given like 20 years. And a lot of times in Locked Up Abroad, they would get them out. Like the people would either escape or they'd somehow get out. And so these people, and they made it look like they were sitting in blazers, and then they finished and they took the lights away and they were like in a Mexican prison.
But what was the point of making her look like fancy in a blazer doing an interview? And John, they had him doing it in his cell in his inmate uniform.
I'm wondering maybe because it would be kind of jarring. Because with her, they were trying to make her look sympathetic.
Yeah, they were trying to make her a romantic comedy lead.
Yeah.
No, that didn't work.
No.
So, and then we find out, so... she got married again. The ex-husband got married again. Yeah, and John's in jail.
She served 27 months.
Yeah.
This was like I saw this movie called Good Luck to You, Leo Grande with Emma Thompson. She had kind of the same issue. She was like kind of bored with things and needed to get things going. So she hired this male prostitute.
Well, I mean, why don't you do something like that or be like Shirley Valentine and go to Greece? Yeah, Shirley Valentine was bored with her life, too. She just went to Greece and had a great time.
Isn't there a Queen Latifah movie also where she...
Last Holiday, one of my favorite movies. Best makeover. It's a really good makeover scene in that movie. And she goes to Switzerland. And then LL Cool J goes after her.
Well,
Yeah, I mean it is a whole genre or subgenre of movies of the woman finding herself movie.
Because bored housewife women finding herself movies always have a spectacular makeover montage. Because that's part of them finding themselves. Anyway.
Well, this movie did not.
I think this is one of the worst movies we've ever watched.
Oh, I don't feel that way. I just did not like it.
No, it's not great. I think because I came in with low expectations, I found a few things interesting, but
I thought this was worse than Elevator Girl.
I still have not seen that, and I'm fine with that.
Elevator Girl.
Ugh.
What was the other one that we hated? Was there something else? Well, there were a few.
There are many.
There are many.
Yeah.
There are many.
Ugh, my God.
Yeah, sometimes it's a rough road.
But we do it for you, the listener.
Yeah.
So you don't have to watch this.
But we are excited about the next movie we're going to be watching because it is second unit directed by our very good friend of the podcast, Meredith Thomas, who has been in a zillion Lifetime movies, but now she has her first credit as a second unit director. So I think we're going to talk to her about it, right?
Yeah,
That's the hope.
Oh, by the way, you guys, that movie comes on tomorrow.
Yes, thank you.
Second
I'm
unit.
very excited.
Second unit sounds dirty, though.
Well, we will ask her that, but in a nicer way, I think.
Okay.
Like, what does that mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just love that.
That is a nicer way.
Yeah.
I just love that she's showing that, like, you could make a career out of doing these movies and have like a lovely career.
Absolutely. And, I love that she's doing this because last time she was on the show, she talked about having an interest in maybe moving into directing. And the director of many of the Wrong movies that Meredith has become friendly with and has worked with a lot actually, was a man of his word and got Meredith this gig. So I love hearing that.
She's smart.
Very excited.
Yeah.
It's always fun to talk to her. And if you want to talk to us, you can do what our friend Lisa did, and you can send us you can get a hold of us on Instagram, or you can get a hold of me on my website, leskirkendallbarrett.com. Jason.
Please rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcast and give us 5 stars. That way it helps people find us, and then more people can listen and hear the lovely movie stylings of Meredith Thomas and our escapades. You can find me or find all of us on Facebook and Instagram at Lifetime of Hallmark Podcast. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Big Shot Jason. Kurt.
I have stuff. I have a new show called The Jester of All Maladies. It'll be I'm working with a dramaturge on this, working very hard. It's kind of like an editor. So it's going to be playing at Indie Fringe in Indianapolis, Indiana in August, and then in Philadelphia Fringe Festival in September. So I'll make sure I'll put that all on my website. I better do that soon. KurtFitzpatrick.com. Kurt with a K. It's at the end of August.
And I'm also going to be at that same festival doing my show, The Real Black Swan. I'm going to be in Indianapolis in August. At the beginning of August, I'm going to be in Minneapolis at the Minnesota Fringe. And then in early September, I will be in Halifax, Nova Scotia at the Halifax Fringe Festival. And yes, you can look on my website as well. And one more thing. If you have movie ideas or if there's something that you want us to watch, please drop us a line. We'll listen to you. We'll watch it. So don't hesitate to send us any ideas that you have or any Hallmark movies or any Lifetime movies, even if it's an older one. If it's something that you want us to watch so you don't have to, recommend it and we'll watch it.
One more thing for me, too. I was talking about Meredith Thomas having this thing premiere on Lifetime. We didn't mention the title. By the time this episode airs, I believe the movie will be coming out that day. It's Keeping Up with the Joneses, The Wrong Nemesis on Lifetime Movies.
You mess with the wrong nemesis.
Write it down.
And I
Wrong
guess
nemesis,
that's
okay.
it.
I think that's it too.
All right. Well, until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.